When you're using a foreign language, your intelligence level temporarily drops. In other words, you become stupid for a short while. Is this a truth or a myth? Hands up if you think it's the truth. Those of you may be thinking, you can't possibly sound smart when you're speaking in your second language. Hands up if you think it's a myth. Those of you may be thinking, what nonsense. Surely, a person's level of intelligence depends largely on them and is always the same. One might even answer, are you calling me stupid right now? Well, if I am, I'm also calling myself stupid because I'm speaking in a second language to you now. English is my second language. Although it's been 4 years since I first moved to an English-speaking environment, I still find it hard to speak in English as well as in my native tongue. So from personal experience, I can tell you the use of a second language actually lowers your thinking ability. This can be explained by concepts of cognitive psychology. Yotaro Takano and Akiko Noda from the University of Tokyo and Waseda University described it and called it the foreign language side effect, or FOSS, which is a temporary decline of thinking ability while a non-proficient foreign language is being used. So why might this occur? This requires a little bit of understanding about how our brain works. When we communicate verbally with others, we're simultaneously performing two tasks in parallel: linguistic processing and thinking. Linguistic processing is basically direct language comprehension and production. But that's not the only thing we do when we listen or speak. We think while we listen, and we speak while we think. So it goes like this. Say your friend is coming over to you for advice. First, you need to recall who the person is you're talking about, as well as what may have happened between them in the past. You need to read their mind from the facial expressions and think about what to say next. Something directly helpful. So you're having all these kinds of thoughts while you're listening to the other person speak. This is thinking, the fundamental process required for communication. According to the researchers, however, when the foreign language is used, thinking tends to be sacrificed. This is because we need to prioritize linguistic processing. Otherwise, we cannot understand what the other person is trying to say or produce meaningful sounds. So this leads to a temporal decline in the ability to think. But don't worry, there is still hope. In cognitive psychology, it is known that the more practice you do, the smaller the interference becomes so that thinking is not interrupted. Your mother tongue is something that you've been practicing your entire life. You have the most experience with it, so linguistic processing causes only a small amount of interference with thinking. On the other hand, since you do not have enough practice in your second language, you need to be attentive. Linguistic processing causes a larger amount of interference, meaning that your thinking ability declines and you appear to be less intelligent than you actually are. But don't get me wrong, I don't mean this as an excuse for second language learners to get away with not doing things or be satisfied with lower test grades. While it could be tempting to use the FOSS effect as an excuse, us second language learners shouldn't pull the victim card and expect to have an easier life with others compensating for us. Because there's actually a way to overcome this effect, and it is by practicing. That sounds simple, right? Some might believe that as long as you use a foreign language, you cannot avoid a lower thinking ability. But this is only true if you have not had enough practice. As long as you keep practicing and reach proficiency, your thinking ability will eventually return to the same level as when using your mother tongue. However, for me, it's still a work in progress. Despite all my effort, I'm not there yet. Acquiring language proficiency takes effort and is something that everyone struggles to do. English is a typical example. In today's society, this language is becoming increasingly common. According to the Harvard Business Review, out of the 8 billion inhabitants of the Earth, about 1.75 billion speak English. That is 1 in every 4 of us. But an even more surprising fact is that only 385 million speak English as their first language. The majority, 1 billion, learned it as a second language. And this is probably why Jacob M., a journalist in the Guardian newspaper, said, English is seen as the golden ticket to the worlds of education and international commerce. It is a parent's dream, but a student's misery. As he goes on to say, some South Korean parents even have surgery performed on their children to improve their English pronunciation ability. The extent to which some people go shows English is now seen as the access code to the global elite. But not all of us are privileged to have been in an environment where natural acquisition of English language skills is possible from a young age. For instance, many prospective university students from low and middle income countries go to Anglophone countries to study higher degrees. While this may seem like a significant opportunity, they're especially vulnerable to the prospect as they would have had less opportunity to study English when they were younger. And whether such disparities are fair or not, being able to speak English is now seen as a necessary skill in the employment world. Education and opportunities have never been a level playing field. And those of us with privilege will always have better opportunities than those without. A result of this would be better English skills in those who have been able to live in environments where they can practice. This is the truth. But a better awareness of the prospect will help those who have not had such opportunities but still want to do well in the English-speaking world. Thank you.